A good listener is such a sexy person. They are very attractive, they're very confident, engaging. It is along the lines of when people talk about, I had a conversation with someone and left feeling like they were the most amazing person in the world, versus when I had a conversation with someone and they made me feel like I was the most amazing person in the world. That is the art of listening in action. When you can pay attention to another person, put your personal agenda aside, and be fully present, it makes such a difference in your conversations and how people see you. I'm Latia. I'm a confidence coach, and sex and attraction are my jam. I have learned about active listening since I was in school. Not only from, I can't remember, like probably middle school. I remember learning about communication and how it is a two-way street, and the importance of communication in everything that we do, especially as it relates to other people, is that there's a knowing of ourselves and what we are dealing with and bringing to the table, in addition to understanding the other person that we're talking to. Because sometimes we can forget that we're not the only person involved. There's another person at play. And when we get too caught up in what we want out of our relationships, sometimes we forget that there are other people with needs that need to be met as well. And so when we're able to listen well, the value of this is that you become someone who can be there for other people. People will confide in you. You'll have better relationships. And it just makes life more fun when you can be curious and open to learning about other people. So I bring this up as part of the series of what makes people not sexy and that prevents people from wanting to engage in like sex or a relationship with you. And sometimes instead of being present and really listening, you're just trying to get what you want and manipulating and maneuvering. So in my life journey, I remember learning about communication in school. There's a receiver and a sender and a receiver. So it's a two-party interaction, and I say something, you hear it, receive it, you may respond back, or it could be one way. There could be many people involved, and there's noise. There's internal noise of our thoughts, our feelings, our emotional state, and there's also the external noise of maybe a car is going by, we're in a crowded space. So I remember receiving this kind of framework as a child that when it comes to listening, it's more complicated than we give it credit. There's a lot of opportunities for misunderstanding, for distraction, for not being present, and then just not really understanding the background of the person that you're talking to. Because I might say I'm a coach, and then you assume I know the main coaching things, but it's like, no, I just operate naturally in the framework of a coaching mindset. I've done research on it, and I tend to view the world in that way, but it's not because I have training in this specific line of the work. And so I've had someone try to tailor their message to me being a coach, and it was not effective because it meant different things to us. So there was still a lot of explaining needed to like understand. Also, I read The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Steve Covey, and I remember that there's different ways of advising people. And autobiographical advising is when I listen to your life and I project my story onto it and I tell you what I need to do. Whereas like the most effective listening is when I listen to you, learn from what you're sharing, and then I help you create solutions for yourself. And so that's been the basis of my approach of listening and being in relationships with people, because I know that I don't know your life as well as you do. You know your life. And so I'm always curious and out to learn more. Because when it comes to relating to people, when you can really give them that moment of being the center of attention, the focus of your world, people really respond well to that, because they can tell the difference between you trying to argue with them, out-talk them, or show how smart you are, versus when you're really just loving on them and being there for them. Because as humans, I believe our fundamental desire is to be seen, appreciated, listened to, loved, and just respected. We want to know that we matter and make a difference in this world, instead of feeling like we're isolated and alone, which is so easy to do from time to time. So when it comes to being a good listener, it can be a challenge, but it really just boils down to really being able to be present and there for another person. And I've been in a few different communities, and one of my favorite sayings from one of them, or a couple, is, would you rather be right or be loved? Would you rather like argue and be divisive and like force someone to do your way, or would you rather like let it go and like create something that works for everyone? We always have this opportunity to create and connect in our relationships, and the more we can put aside our agendas for like having sex or being in a relationship or getting married or whatever intention you may be placing on this person, when you can put that aside and just really show up for them as someone who loves them and cares for them unconditionally, it'll make a huge difference in the quality and quantity of your relationships. So what are some steps to get into this? I would say that overall, active listening is the goal. If you can become an active listener, really engage with the people around you, that is going to make a huge difference. And it is challenging to become an active listener if you're not good at reading or paying attention, because it's going to require that you kind of just like let yourself listen to and kind of critically think about what people are saying. But it's worth it, I promise. So my 3 steps for this are: 1, to be curious. Let's approach our conversations with curiosity and a desire to learn from the other person. Let's be open and ask questions and really like engage in that moment, because if we assume we know everything about the other person, we're going to miss out on their truth and what they have to say or what they're feeling. So I might assume you really love cake and I get you cakes every year, but really you hate cakes, you don't like them, and you wish I would do something different. And I feel like in a lot of our relationships, we assume we know the other person so well that we take for granted asking them questions and engaging them to know, what do you need now? How am I showing up for you? Am I giving you what you want? When we're curious and we stop saying, oh, that's just my husband, I've known him forever, like he doesn't like that or he likes this, let him speak for himself. Let your wife speak for herself. Let your children like show you who they are, instead of these preconceived notions or, you know, taking these behaviors and moments and making it who they are. Because everyone has the opportunity to change and surprise us, and they can always teach us something new. So if we're curious in our relationships and our interactions with people, coming from that beginner's mindset can make such a huge difference. And my second step is to quiet your mind or your agenda. So when you do have an intention and you want something from someone, it's okay to set that aside and just be present with them. We all have a little voice in our head that is questioning, challenging, defending, rationalizing, making sense of. We all have like an analytical piece of ourselves. And if we're always letting our little internal critical lawyer like engage with what we're talking about, then we're never going to be satisfied. That is arguing about things that don't matter. That is showing up as combative when there's no need for it. And just engaging in conversations where it's like, is there really any value to having this conversation? Like, if you can't turn it into something that's useful or a lesson or something valuable, why are you wasting your time? Like, is your life so boring and empty that you just waste it arguing with people? Like, I argue sometimes, but when I feel like it hits a point where it's just like, wow, you're so full of it, there's no point. It's like, wait, why am I even engaging in this? Like, I know what my point and intention is, and if you disagree, I really don't care. It doesn't matter. Like, I don't need to be right or prove anything to you, because I'm satisfied with my life and with who I am. So whenever I get to those places, it's just like, just be peaceful and let it go. Because it's like, I'm not going to engage in your trigger or your, like, basically, if you're upset, I'm not going to engage that anger and that rationality or that line of thinking, because it's not who you are. And it's like, okay, I'm trying to have an intellectual like conversation with a baby, and it's okay, because we all have our baby moments. I do it too. And when I'm there, it's just like, never mind, let's pause, change our state, let's try this again. So let's quiet our minds and our agendas, and that's very helpful in being present with the other. So like acknowledging if something's on your mind, if you can't be present, and just being honest about it. And my third step is having patience and really waiting for someone else to get their thoughts out before you speak to them. A lot of times people are anticipating what others will say, and instead of just listening and being present, it's trying to argue with them, it's trying to come up with a comeback. And like, one of my pet peeves is when people try to finish my sentences. Yes, a lot of times I am saying the thing that you're saying, but it's like, it's real annoying to watch someone where they're like, it's like, God, calm down. What is wrong with you? Like, can I speak for me? Like, can you listen to me? Can we chill out here? Like, I get that it's going on the traditional path, but like, please stop. And I was reading an article on listening because listening is something I've been practicing my whole life. And if anything, I'm trying to learn how to hear people instead of listening so well. Because I'm like, oh wait, never mind. I take everything very seriously because words are very powerful to me. And I forget a lot of people are very flippant and casual with what they say. So for me, it's like trying to like, this moment is not worth actively engaging in. Chill out, Latia. Calm down. Like, step back a notch. Not everyone needs the whole, like, let's be powerful and clear and active. So when it comes to this article that I read, it was talking about how when people are impatient and they're interrupting you or trying to finish your sentence, if you do that, what you are telling the other person, like what they said almost word for word, is like, you're declaring to the world that I am more important than you. It is, you are less important than I am, like whatever it is. That is like a very not attractive place to come from. To put it simply, if you think you're better than everyone, that comes across as gross. And if you are constantly interrupting, if you're very aggressive, if you don't listen, you come across like you're a know-it-all, like you're self-righteous, holier than thou, and like you don't see the value that other people can bring to you. And if you feel like you're just so amazing and great and wonderful that you don't need other people to tell you what to do, okay, cool. But also, don't you want to be loved and connected and to have great relationships and to have friends that you can confide in? Because like, no matter how smart you are, people can always add some kind of value. So maybe they can't tell you how to run your business, or maybe they can't tell you how to get a boyfriend, or maybe they can't tell you how to be excellent, but they can show you how to be loving or compassionate, or maybe they can show you how to be inquisitive or honor boundaries. Like, every person has intrinsic value because they are here on this earth. And while they may not add much value to you or your life, we can't just toss them aside and act like, oh no, I'm just not going to associate with you because I'm better than you. It's like, no, that's not nice behavior. And I will admit, I think I'm the stuff. I'm so amazing and incredible. Like, why wouldn't anyone want to be friends with me? And I also challenge myself because it's like, okay, am I coming from a place of like ego or a place of love? Like, am I just like, I'm too good for you and being rude and arrogant and an asshole? Or am I just being like, you know what? I see where you're at in your life and I see the amount of information you're trying to bring to me. And like, you may have some valid points and you're not the person to teach me. I don't have to be rude or nasty about it. It's just that like, we're on different wavelengths. And when you're in different places from people, it's easy to be like, okay, I'm impatient. And I can still learn from those people. So there are people where I can tell there's this fear of being acceptable to other people. And so they're like, oh, you can't come out like that. You can't be, you can't talk about race and gender and all of these very taboo topics. Like, that's not allowed. Like, that's not okay. Like, be safe. Like, stay here so more people can relate to you. And it's like, no, that's my truth. I'm not going to dim down my light and my truth anymore. I've been doing that my whole life. And like, I talk about the things that can be tough for people because they're tough for me, and we need to engage in this conversation. And the challenge about conversations is like, emotions can run high and it can get tough to be present with them. And sometimes you're going to need to be like, hey, pause, time out. Like, can we step back and just honor the truth of where you are and what the other person needs, and like, understand their feelings and emotions are highly likely not reflected in you. It is most likely something from their past that you are steering up. It is the 4 agreements in action, where I am responsible for myself and my feelings, and you are only maybe a trigger to something that's a shadow of my past. So if we can be curious, quiet our minds, and be patient, when we are talking to people. And then also there is, when you're active listening, sometimes you reflect back what you heard to the person. So this isn't like parrot their words. Like whenever my family talks, it's like, are you listening? And you can like say the last few things they said. It's like when you can paraphrase and show, this is how I understand you to say it. Because sometimes we think that like parroting their words shows them we're engaged or we're listening, but just because I said what you said doesn't mean that I really understand where you're coming from. So that's like a distinction that in practice makes sense. I don't know if I can make it make sense, but it's like, I don't know, people telling me you're caking. What's cake? I'm not baking a cake, I'm on the phone. Oh no, caking is like flirting where you find someone attractive. Oh, okay, got it. You just slang. It's about like understanding people's messaging and intentions and emotions, and not necessarily just saying verbatim what they said, because when we just copy them, that doesn't take thought. We want to be critical thinkers, curious learners of humans, and really getting to know the person in front of us, because we never know what magic they have to offer. And once we give them our listening, then they will most likely have more space to be able to accept us and what we bring to the table. So there's a little bit of courage needed, but it takes time and practice. It can be difficult, and it's fun because life is amazing. I've met so many amazing people with wonderful stories and journeys, whether I loved them and wanted to stay with them every day of my life, or could not stand them and was so excited to get away from them. People are amazing and treasures. And if you want to attract more people into your life, becoming the type of person who can like put their needs aside and really understand the other person, that's such an attractive trait. And you don't necessarily have to do it indiscriminately like I do, because I legit listen to like strangers on the street, and sometimes homeless people yell at me. It's interesting. But if you can do it for the people who matter to you, like really give them quality listening, really understand where they're coming from, allow them to grow and develop and evolve in the way that you see them, you will become one of their favorite people to spend time with. And I only have what people have told me about myself and what I feel about myself to say like, I'm sexy, I'm sex goddess. Like people are loving on me, and there are people who have heard my stories and they know it's pretty true. Like amazing. But if I were you, I would just like know who really matters to me, make sure I'm putting myself first and honoring my needs. And then from that empowered place of being number one in your life, allow yourself to flow into the people who are most important to you, most deserving of your love and attention, and like choose those relationships you want to nurture instead of just accepting whatever. Because like sometimes we have phases where we do just need to like work with what's available, but as you grow in your intentionality and power as an individual, you'll be more capable of like choosing, like, I'm listening to you, I'm just gonna hear you, I'm gonna, it's like you get finesse and you're able to really show up in powerful ways. So I hope you are able to be a little bit more sexy after this like little mini series that just evolved out of, I don't know, me dealing with people in life. Please let me know if you have any questions, like further explanation. Maybe I can make more videos to go on things. Like I have ideas popping up around going over some of the myths of relationships that people have, and just wanting to support people and living empowered lives. So please reach out, let me know what you're thinking. Please comment. I accept feedback. If you give me ideas, I'll try to work with it. Have a blessed day. See you next time.